Hello and welcome to Spurs Rewind. I'm Vickie Villarreal and I'm joined here by Rocky Garza Jr. Hi, Rocky. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Vicky. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm liking this cold weather. It's really nice.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So, getting right into this, the Spurs record has faltered quite a bit since we last spoke. Their record is now 6-12, which is crazy. It puts them in the 13th spot in the Western Conference right now. So it's obviously been a rough couple of weeks. There have been a few close games here and there, and their last win came on November 11th against the Bucks. So looking at the schedule ahead, they've got New Orleans, the Lakers a couple of times, OKC, New Orleans again, I think, and then Phoenix, all coming up. So do you see the Spurs getting a win anytime soon with the schedule? And if so, when? Who do you think that'll come against?
My optimistic side of being a Spurs fan says yes, but the realist, it's very hard to say I see a win given how poorly they've been playing. But the effort's there. So to combine and mix both of my sides, I'm gonna say yes. They're gonna get a win someday down this stretch. I could see it coming against New Orleans. They usually play New Orleans, down the stretch, but it's been hard for the Spurs, ever since, we started doing, these podcasts and we began and we're all happy with the Spurs doing so good. We had both mentioned, eventually it's going to come down and they're going to start faltering. And what did they do? They start faltering. And some fans were like, why are they faltering? I'm like, it was bound to happen. You wanted them to lose. So, but I mean, there's a good piece today in Express News, just from Tom Osborne, and he was talking about, despite the losses, the Spurs are looking at the future, and a lot of the players have the mindset of, winning is very hard in the NBA, and that's what some fans don't realize. If you're a player, you're facing the best of the best every night, and if you're young, eventually your inexperience gets beat out. So it is what it is, but I can see the Spurs winning the game, just coming down that stretch because the effort's there, and a lot of teams overlook the Spurs. You never know. Some teams sit a player, regardless if they sit a player, a win's a win, but I can see them getting it done. But I'm going with the Pelicans in one of the games. How about you?
Okay, cool. I am thinking they'll get a win against the Lakers, one of those games in that back-to-back. I'm pretty surprised at how poorly they played against the Lakers in the last game. I didn't expect it to be like a blowout like it was. So yeah, I think they should fare better at least in one of the games. Lakers. I also agree that I think they have a shot against the Pelicans. They're just going through some sort of weird slump. I'm not sure even really like why. It's just out of nowhere, and you've still got good performances from players here and there, especially like Keldon and Devin leading the way. But yeah, it's just a little kind of like, they just don't have it right now. But speaking of Keldon and Devin, there's definitely been some leadership from them. Keldon is leading the team in scoring with 21.3 points per game, and Devin is following pretty closely behind with 20.2 points per game. So they're obviously, leading this team. They're serving in that leadership role. But it looks like they need another guy, some kind of consistent scoring from another guy. And I wanted to ask you, who do you think needs to step up? Or do you think that this current roster just doesn't have somebody who has the potential to be that third guy for them?
Yeah, the one guy that comes to mind is Jakob Poeltl. Everyone used to know Jakob's just kind of described as a soft guy around the paint, doesn't really go up, doesn't like really getting down and dirty, and instead you'd see him just setting the screens, getting rebounds and just dishing it out. But lately, he's been really scoring, and some nights he's led the team in scoring. That's becoming a big topic because, some people around the league are seeing it, whether he's increasing his trade value, the Spurs would move him, or if the Spurs are going to keep him. And given, he's in a contract year, it kind of makes sense, not that necessarily that he wasn't trying, but, he's taking the best of his advantages and balling out. But I think, you could argue and say Jakob's right there. Another guy that comes to mind is Tre Jones, who is arguably one of the hearts of the Spurs. This guy's a really gritty player. He wasn't even expected to start this year, but he didn't say anything. Just kept grinding his way, and now you see him as a starter. But he has missed some games. But even when Tre's not there, you see how the team reacts. But I think a dark horse relatively is Sochan. Sochan brings that toughness. It's kind of funny just seeing how Russell Westbrook kind of did a little punk move and threw the ball at him, and Sochan was like, "You're so tough." Like Sochan just a guy that doesn't really care. He's not scared of anyone, and that's what the Spurs need. They need a guy who's a instigator in a sense, an aggressor, but he won't take anything from anyone. So I'm just excited to see where it's going to go from here.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I think right off the top of my head, I would say Jakob too, just because he really he could do it, and I feel like he's doing so much on in other areas of the game. If he could just step it up scoring wise to be more consistent. He had that one game where I don't even remember, 30 something points. If he could just do 15, 16 a game right now, I think he's averaging about 13. So it's not, that far off, but getting above that midpoint in the teens, I think would be a huge help to the other two guys. But yeah, definitely Tre Jones is another big one who I think was a shock. I don't think anyone really expected him to be as competitive as he's been. And yeah, Sochan, I've loved seeing what I'm seeing from him, and so happy that he's playing with the Spurs and not in Austin. Yeah. So, moving on a little bit, not only is Keldon leading the Spurs in scoring, but he's also leading them in 3-pointers made per game with 3.4, which actually puts him in 9th place in the league, which is, it's not, that's pretty good. Tied with Jason Tatum, and Keldon actually has the better percentage, by the way, just putting that out there. But do you see Keldon continuing at this kind of rate with his 3-point shooting throughout the season? Do you think that it's something that's going to stick, or has he just been super lucky in the this first month that he's been playing?
Nah, I see it's going to stick. I mean, obviously we shoot throughout the season. Your averages are going to, either fall low a little bit, drift up, or go higher. It's not necessarily luck. It's more of him showing that he's been putting in the work. Before these seasons, Keldon was known as a guy who couldn't really shoot. He would drive to the rim a lot, get fouled, and he would just lose the ball. So I think, it just shows how much work he has put into his shot. Although we did lose Chip England, you can see all the years that Chip has put into him. Keldon is still putting in that work, and that's the mentality that I would use to, kind of just describe the Spurs team. They're still putting in the work. They're still trying to put in all the effort despite the losses. They want to get better, and that's what you see in Keldon. He's being a leader, just like Vassell, just like Jakob, just like Tre and others. And I think, Keldon's going to keep shooting, even if, someone like Sochan, who is shooting very poorly from 3 right now, let him rain. You're going to get better. That's the only reason why. Don't be scared to take those shots, and that you see it among this team.
Right. Definitely. I agree. And I'm glad you mentioned losing Chip England in that, because I was thinking the same thing. I remember being so scared, how are they going to develop their shots and all this? Mm-hmm. But we've seen an improvement in Keldon and even Devin. Something's going right. Shooting wise, they're learning a lot. It's good to see them making a lot of mistakes, because you can tell they're making mistakes and not getting, a lot of the heat from Pop and the coaching staff, because that's what this year is about them learning and growing. But yeah, it's good to see that a lot of their instincts are good and correct. And I'm excited to see where it goes. Hopefully Keldon just keeps going. So I have a bit of fun news before we sign off. The Spurs were ranked. Spurs City Edition jerseys were ranked first in an article by The Athletic among all of these alternate jerseys in the NBA in the 2022-2023 season. It was sort of an interesting way that they ranked it, kind of like ranking the awards. The judges picked, they gave a score to each team. The Spurs didn't actually get first on any of the judges, but because of the difference in, who liked more and all of this, they were in the top 4 among all the judges, or top 10, I think, among all the judges, something like that. So they ended up ranking first. So, the consensus was that the Spurs City Edition jersey was the best rated jersey. by The
Mhm.
Athletic this season. And I know you have. I don't know if you want to show it.
Yeah. For the
Here.
audience, this isn't a real
Yeah.
jersey. This is a knockoff jersey from South Park Mall. Here we go.
But that's
I
so
I mentioned
cool.
Yeah, I'd mentioned it, the last episode. If you want to go check it out, that I had it. Unfortunately, it doesn't fit me probably because growing up, this is a small. I'm a large now, so I mean, maybe I'll wear the crop top one day. But
But that's
yeah,
awesome.
I have
And the
this from
hat.
South Park Mall. Poodle essay, baby.
Exactly. And it's funny because the author of the article, the name is escaping me, but I believe it was a woman. And she said that the little things on the side of the city edition jersey, what are they called?
Yeah,
The shapes
yeah,
and the
shape. Yeah, it's like kind
color,
of like that.
the
Yeah,
little like shapes and color, everything was chef's kiss. So I was like, that's a nice little, tribute. That's a nice acknowledgement from them. And she said that um, this city edition jersey, the Spurs city edition jersey, was definitely um, the best way of representing like your heritage in the city because this was a throwback to the 1996
mhm.
All-Star game, all of that. So yes, I feel so bad I can't remember the name of this author, but oh, I should have written that down. But great great publicity for the Spurs. I
Of
love the
course.
jerseys. I hope that people around the world.
Of course. You mentioned publicity, before we go. Shout out to the
Yeah.
Spurs giving away turkeys. That is
Oh yeah.
awesome. The Spurs always give back, and it's just great to see, an organization like that. And no matter who's there at the helm, Spurs always give back. So shout out to
Yes.
them for that.
Yeah, that's great. Glad to see them doing that. It's all about the community. So we're gonna be signing off. Be sure to follow me and Rocky on Twitter. You can find you can find me at the Vickie Vix, TheVickievix, and Rocky's handle is at ROCKSSJR. You can also check out projectspurs.com for the latest Spurs news. So for myself and for Rocky, we wish all of you a nice break, Thanksgiving break, and we'll see you next time on Spurs Rewind.